It is April 19th, 2016. I am Lynne Simpson, and along with me is Tanya Finchum. We are faculty at the Oklahoma State University Library. Today we are in Oklahoma City to speak with former Assistant Chief of the Oklahoma City Fire Department, Carl Holmes, who served 1951 to 1981. Mr. Holmes is a true trailblazer, being one of the first 12 African Americans to be hired by the Oklahoma City Fire Department when the department was first integrated in 1951. Thank you for having us today.
Thank you for being here.
We are going to begin with your early history, and so we'll start with, what is your full name?
Carl Holmes, H-O-L-M-E-S. That's
Okay.
it.
No middle name?
No middle name.
Oh, okay. When and where were you born?
Wow. Where born, baby?
Oklahoma City, Westtown.
Yeah. Where?
Oklahoma City?
Oh, yeah, Oklahoma City, yeah.
In Westtown.
Please.
Okay. Could you tell us about where you grew up?
In a section of Oklahoma City, it's back in the day, segregation, when it was called the Westtown. It was the west section of Oklahoma City, which is a black settlement. Then there was another one far east of that, and then there was another one that separated the educational system also. You see, because that's when the segregational system was in place, and so we all went to one of those places, and that's the way the system worked. That's the way segregation worked, and so it went that way. It was probably, in my opinion, the strongest system of education I've ever seen in my life. The driving of the teachers in those schools was so strong, so strong. They flat did not stand for anything less than perfect, period. And I never could figure that out. It's coming through, and I got out in the life. But what I finally figured out, what those teachers there in that system, they had a vision of where we were going. They had a vision of what you're going to be faced with. They had a vision of everything that could bring you down. And so they had it down. And so they flat would not tolerate that at that level. It just, unlike the school system today, the kids that went to school under that system, they flat did not stand for anything short of perfect. Period. That no excuses. Absolutely none. And that's the way it worked. And that's the way the whole educational system worked during that period of time. There were, am I going too long?
Oh, no, you're fine. This is perfect.
That group of elementary schools, they were broken down that way. One is far east of Oklahoma City, the one that I lived in, Westtown. Then there was one in the south, back from Capitol Hill area, that it came all the way up. Those are the ones you had to go to grade school, period. And those teachers flat did not accept anything short of perfect, period. From that size up, period. And I could never figure that out. But they had a vision of where you were going, what was going to be waiting for you out there. And they just flat would not tolerate it there.
Do you have a particular teacher?
Ooh, all of them.
Okay.
Yeah, they were all good. I had to have them when I was in the Navy. I was on a gun crew. And they had the gun crew at that turret was so accurate. So the chief gunnery officer came down to the turret one day and said, who in the hell is the gun pointer on this crew? He said, guy right there, Holmes. So he said, yes. He said, you are? He said, man, you must have been one hell of an algebra teacher. He said, no, you just had never met a person, the Temple, that was a teacher, and she flat ass didn't stand for anything short of perfect. Period. That was it.
So when you got to the Navy,
Yeah.
you were ready.
You were ready when you walked out that door. Any subject. And so the school system doesn't work like that now. But that's the way it went. You see, because there was only one high school the blacks could go to in Oklahoma City. Only one. One was a grade school, elementary school.
Sure.
And you left there. I don't care what system you went through. You had to go there first for grade school. And when you finished that, then you went to graduate school. Was Douglas. From all those schools, went to that one, black. And you went there. And that's another place that the teachers did not take any stuff. But like I said, I never could figure that out. Why? Why was it so damn hard, you know? And it's because they had such a vision of where you were going. They had a vision of what you would be looking for. And you were going to understand it. What's that? I'm going too long?
What year did you graduate from high school?
I graduated.
40.
Yeah, 40.
40, yeah.
And did you have a favorite subject?
Survival.
Were you in the band or play sports?
Oh, yeah, yes. Those schools had some of the most dynamite marching bands you ever saw in your life. Went to a lot of the major things like the, what you call that in California?
Oh, the Rose Bowl parade.
Rose Bowl parade. The thing in New York City,
Macy's
the
parade.
big parade. He was invited to that.
Oh, wow.
And then the band turned out so doggone many professionals. So many of them left that and went into the progressive music. A lot of the current.
Right, I know two people who are professional.
Yeah,
Uh-huh.
What instrument did you play?
saxophone.
Saxophone.
Yeah.
Is that how you developed your lifelong love of jazz music?
From the jazz, you know, another thing to it. In high school, the teacher that was over that thing, Mrs. Bro.
Oh.
Yeah, you heard that name?
I know that name.
Okay, she was a master of it. And that was a lady that did not stand for anything short of perfect. Period. Period. It put you out of the band. And a lot of the musicians, they came out of that. You see, because that was the same day of segregation in Powerful. That was big bands came to Oklahoma City to play, but they mostly came the big bands. They came in to play at the country clubs, places like that. It was all white. And she knew all of them. And while that big band was in town, for a big concert, she would get them to come down to the high school and play a concert in the high school on the day off. Yeah. And a lot of the musicians came out of that band. Golly, man, go for 1,000.
Yeah, I was gonna say, I've seen that that she was an influence in Oklahoma City, a big influence in Oklahoma City on music.
Yeah. I didn't mean to get off on that.
Oh, that's fine. That's fine.
So did you volunteer for the Navy or were you enlisted?
The only way
Drafted.
you couldn't volunteer for the Navy. You had to get in, be able to get in.
Okay.
That was one of the things. I wanted to try that, the Navy. Because you see, at that time, remember, during that period of time, the only way you could get in the Navy, it was black, you had to get into cook. You could not get in the Navy, period, no other way, black. That was the only thing they had to work with. Cooks or something of that nature. And they were pushing real hard, a subgroup. There was always a subgroup of whites within there that wanted to see those things changed. And they were pushing real hard, and that was why I got in the Navy. Because I wanted, there was two reasons. Two reasons, the personal reason. Number one, she had a sister, a little older than I was coming out of school a year and a half, 2 years before I did. But my parents, hard working, hard working. And they wanted her to go to college. And that would take a major financial push on that family. And I could hear my mother and father arguing and teaching, but all in the bedroom. Because my sister was getting age, getting ready to try to get in college. And I was listening to that. But I understood that financially, that was going to be a major problem for that family, those two people, my mother and father, to be able to transfer that kind of money. And I heard that. But I heard at the same time that the Navy was talking about allowing blacks to get into the Navy because of the fact that that was out there. And now they understand in the Navy there was power just like what you're into right now. Power and structure to keep them out of there. And so I wanted to get in there. And so that's how I got in the Navy.
How many brothers and sisters did you have?
Just two, just
two of you.
Just he and his sister.
Yeah.
Did your sister go to college?
Oh yeah. Yeah. My mother and father, they wanted that worse. Yeah. My mother went to college down in Texas, and in fact, she got a master's degree.
Honorary doctorate.
Yeah.
Oh, from where?
We'll call it in a minute. We went down into it.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay.
After my mother passed. Yeah. And so I didn't mean to get off on
That's
that.
okay.
Oh, that's fine.
Once you got out of the Navy, did you go to college?
No, I did not.
You didn't use the GI
Look for a
Bill?
job.
Oh.
Yeah, look for a job.
He did take some college courses.
Yeah,
You know, I figured maybe with the GI Bill that you might have.
yeah.
That was very
I don't know if they have a
okay.
GI Bill during that time.
They did because that's how my uncle went to college. They had the GI Bill after World War II.
Yeah, yeah.
Could you describe how you decided to become a firefighter?
The Navy was kind of, it was opening thing. The Navy, all of a sudden, all these years, was being able to consider allowing blacks to come into the Navy other than being cooks. That was it.
Fire department she was talking about.
How
talking about
did
the
you
fire
decide to
department.
become a fire
fire department.
The fire department was the fact that those kinds of jobs were very, very rare. The tapes in there show you there was absolutely no blacks nowhere close to the fire department. And they had a real strong black neighborhood association. And the city of Oklahoma City was going for the largest bond election that they'd ever tackled. And they had to get the support of the black community, black business community
And WCP never leave.
to get into it. And they said, okay, yeah, we'll buy that. If you're gonna hire some blacks in the fire department, well, they said, oh Lord, no, we can't do that. Can't do that. He said, if you want us to support the bond election, you're gonna hire some, or we're not gonna do it. It was a large bond election. It's on tape in there.
So how did you decide to become one of the 12, or were you chosen?
Chosen. They decided that they finally said, we will employ only 12. Only. That's it.
They got the 12 best that they could find.
Yeah.
And Jimmy Stewart knew Carl very well and his parents. So therefore,
Oh,
he recommended him too, you know.
So Jimmy Stewart was
Jimmy
influential
Stewart,
in you
yeah.
being chosen.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. That was the battle. And then, of course, you understand the Navy
We're not talking about the Navy.
had a, what, Annie?
We're not talking about the Navy. We're talking about the
Ne-
fire
I'm
department.
talking about the fire department now.
Excuse me.
Thank you. They were going to select outside two black organizations, and they would select 12 people. That's all they would hire. Period. That's it.
We're talking about the fire department. You just said something about the Navy.
Now, well, they came at Navy and every place else.
They all had college
Oh,
educations.
yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. And they tackled it. And they did. They processed and picked only 12. That was it. I don't care how many people he had. Because they said that by allowing 12 to even apply for the fire department, we're going to allow out a lot of kinfolks. It was already in the fire department. It was white. And that's where it came from. And they did.
So,
But they were figuring out a way to beat that. If they run them through the process, tough process, all the way through the process, the 12, to see if you can get through it. And all 12 of them, boom, blew the top out of it.
so what did you all have in common? What were the characteristics that made you all good firefighters?
It was a challenge, number one, that was unheard of. Never seen a black firefighter in your whole life. Never had, in no way you didn't see one. And the fact that it looked like a doggone good position, a good job, a good solid job with a good retirement system, all that good stuff. It was worth the gamble. And so they did. And they agreed to hire 12. And, but see, the system, just like everything else, they had some things in their mind too. We're going to process them in there. We'll run them through that recruit training program, which is like dynamite, 12 weeks. And we'll process them out of there, right there. Flunk them out there. Then they say, hey, we did that thing. The 12 that you finally did pick, we flunked them all. And so we satisfied the selection, I mean the political section in Oklahoma City by doing that way. Then they did. So they said, well, we'll beat it another way. There's always a system in this place that sets up, if that failed, we'll do another thing. And that was, we will take that whole 12 crew and we'll put them at one station. That'll take care of that right there.
Where did you receive your training?
Then Oklahoma City. Yeah.
It was in Oklahoma City.
Oklahoma City, yeah.
Was it hard with the intentions of trying to get you all to quit?
Oh, good gracious, that they flunky one. Yeah, not a single one was flunked.
And all 12 made it through?
Oh, yeah.
And did all 12 make a career?
Yeah. They
Oh.
did. All they got hurt, stuff like that. But,
Did all 12 stay in Oklahoma, or did any of you move to other states?
no,
After
they
retired, they
they
did.
retired, yeah.
They did.
One left.
They retired, yeah.
What was the climate like in Oklahoma City in the early years of your being a firefighter?
Between the customers was dynamite. The problem was within the department themselves. That's what the problem was. You see, because number one, they figured they would bust this thing up along the way. Number one, to see if all 12 of them could go through the recruit training program, which was dynamite. Yeah, they did. They said, okay, fine. What we'll do is something else. We'll break all the rules of fire department operation. We'll take all 12 of them and put them at one fire station.
Was that in a black part of town? That fire
one of them,
station?
one.
On Stonewall.
Oh, okay.
Stonewall.
On Stonewall,
And break them there. That many recruits.
Tell about when they wanted to punish the other guys, white guys, who were in charge of different areas, like captains or
Yeah.
lieutenants or whatever. They would punish them by sending them to the fire station for the blacks
Oh, yeah.
and make them work over there.
Yeah.
Wow.
And that was another big mistake they made. They sent all those radical white dudes who was working. They would set them over there with those black dudes. Come to find out, they went straight to the moon. They went straight up.
They got very close to them, and
Oh,
they
yeah.
became
Yeah.
very, very close friends and so
Yeah.
forth.
I would imagine there would be a lot of camaraderie.
Oh, yeah.
How did the community react when they saw these African American firefighters?
Oh, they did. They loved it. They loved it. They loved it.
The African American community and the white community both?
Yeah, the white communities, because when they went out in other stations, in other areas of the city, they didn't just work in the black part of town. In fact, they broke them up in such large groups that were scattered everywhere. But they worked out of one station, number 6, and that's was the founder, which is the founding father of the whole thing. That was another big mistake they made. Then they had only 2 officers there. 2 officers, 2 white officers. There were 2 white officers that the system hated. That was the way they were punishing them, putting them in that office. That was a big mistake. They groomed the sharpest dudes in that group. Yeah. Every single one, every dude that came through that system all the way of their career. Their careers just went bam, 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 bam. Went to the moon. Yeah.
How long did the stations stay segregated after that initial group of 12 was hired?
Ooh, golly. About 10 years. About 10 years.
Okay, so you all integrated sometime in the 60s.
Well, I tell you what happened during that period of time when those stations was so solid. There were only 2 officers, white officers there. The system hated their guts. They made the sharpest dudes you ever saw in your life. I was one of them. And they did that. And it worked against the system. That's the way it worked. All they did was create some monsters, all they did. Every single dude in that group out there, every single one of them, as the system moved, they went bam, 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 bam. Up in power, everything.
And so that is what happened with you. You worked your way up through the ranks,
Yeah.
becoming an assistant fire chief, the second in command of 1,200. I had no idea how many firemen there were. Could you talk a little bit about that process and the reaction within the department and outside of the department when you went through those promotions to lieutenant and then captain and then assistant fire chief?
What do we want?
Tell me about the reactions when you were first promoted to lieutenant.
It was fine at those levels. There was groups within there that were bitterly against it, bitterly, and fought it. Everything they could do, everything they could do. I remember when I was a lieutenant and was working, companies way out in other parts of the city. But I had one captain that came from another part of the town. He said, told my driver, said, Holmes out there? He said, yeah, he's out front. He said, just a minute, I want to see him. So he said, oh shit, you know. So he went, told me, said, hey, the captain wants to see you. I said, well, good. He never spoke to me the whole time. Fought fire with him, everything, never said a word. And so I said, well, okay, I'll see him. So I came around to that side of the building. The first fire was out. He looked up, he was coming down that side. He was taking his gloves off. And so I said, okay. And I got there and he said, what, baby?
Don't stop in the arm on table.
Huh?
Okay.
Go ahead.
He said, I want to talk to you. We fought a lot of fires together. He said, we never said a word to each other. You followed your end of it, I followed my end of it. He said, I just wanted you to know that was the closest working relationship I've ever had in my whole career. And the reason I want to tell you now is I'm retiring. And I've never said a word to you for that whole period of time. And I want you to know I have loved that period between two company officers in my whole career.
What was that like to have to depend on someone protecting your life and they're protecting
your end,
you're protecting their life, and not speaking to one? How does that work?
It works. It works for some people. With some people. Some people it don't. They just croaks up there. They can't get it out. They know it. And they do it. They see it every day. But they never say a word about it.
What was it like when you became the assistant fire chief, being in command of 1,200?
Boy. How much time do you have? A lot of people didn't like it. Not one bit. In ranks above me. They fought among themselves up there the fact I was going to be moved. And I was moved to headquarters, which is the biggest station. And I had the battalion officer for that whole division. His headquarters is there. And he told me today, he said, well, Holmes, I didn't ask you to come here. And I want you to know that was the position that acting battalion officer chiefs worked out of that station, headquarters. He said, but I want you to know, I'll put anybody I want to in that slot. I don't necessarily be you. I said, that's up to you, chief. That's up to you. And so I let it back. And the chief of the department was brand new. He came up to me, he said, I heard you talking to the captain down there. Yeah. He told me that he was not going to be putting me in charge of this place on my days off. He said, that's BS. He's not going to do that. If it's your turn to be the chief, you're going to do it, period. I'm the chief of the department. And that's the way it went. So a lot of people understood that my precedent on training, I was always going to bug about that. I wanted efficiency. Emergency squads was one of the things. In fact, the company that manufactures that equipment came down to Oklahoma City and wanted to know if we would put on some demonstrations for them in their equipment. So I said, yeah. So, with your crew, on your days off, yeah, you do that. I talked to them about it. And the places we're going to send you, other cities, to put our products on. So now, in doing that, the company there, we're going to donate a complete set of equipment to your department, the whole department. Yeah.
Your public image was very important as a firefighter. How do you think that the firefighters in Oklahoma City, the group you were with, how were you all different? How did you present yourself differently to the public?
You missed me there. I don't know where you're going.
Do you feel like as firefighters you did more volunteer work, or that you had a bigger standing in churches and organizations like the Urban League and things like that?
I was always involved in that. Mm-hmm. Urban League, NACP, I get awards up there now, tax up there. But that, I look at that from the fact, these are customers. They were people who needed services. I don't care what color you were, what stations you came from, but you needed to have that professionalism to put those kind of services out. Yeah, and it'll be places in your career where those things go. Public get right in your face. Like, they had problems with the police department in Oklahoma City, and we had one night, and I was on the emergency squad. That was my rig, and we got down there. The guy was laying on the front porch, midnight, laying out, and looked at him with bullet holes in him. And so I had to get the tools out, put services on him, call for ambulance. That had never been called. And people there didn't want that to happen. The police department.
Oh.
I said, wait a minute. Well, they flew up in the air about that. So that was a head-on confrontation between the police department and the fire department. Yeah.
When did the police department integrate in Oklahoma City? Was it around?
They did, but they did it very,
First.
very slowly.
Oh.
The first one also was in 51.
Okay, so that was all part of the same.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Just one on the first one.
Yeah.
Okay. You trained volunteer firefighters in
Yeah.
the state. Can you tell us a little bit about how you train a person who's not a real firefighter to be a firefighter?
Well, that's a job. Number one, you have to get it down, the fun stuff, and get on the business. We did one for training program at Langston, and they had a volunteer so-called fire department. No training, no nothing.
And what was the composition? Mostly college professors and people like that?
And some students and everything else.
Okay.
and very, very loose operation. So I brought 4 of my people up there with me, blacks, who they were hardcore. And they got up there, and I said, they had they raised a lot of chickens up there too. And I said, they had several fires in it. I said, I tell you what we're gonna do. We're gonna set this thing on fire. And I'm gonna have taken you through all this training. Then I brought 4 guys with me. Now you had about 40 guys here. I brought only 4 up here with me. They on their day off. And we'll let it start and let it start going good. And then we're gonna jump on it. And gonna knock it out. Bam, 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 bam. And I said, now that's the way 4 guys can do what 30 of you can't do. That's because the fact you're not organized. You're not organized. And boy, that pissed off a lot of people. Yeah. But
Was that something that the black firefighters, did they go to a lot of the black towns? Like, did you do training in Boley or Clearview?
I trained wherever they asked.
Okay.
I could get guys voluntarily, and they always would. They'd go with me to those places.
Were any of those guys from those places? Or
No, they weren't.
didn't have people? Okay.
No.
So all of you were from Oklahoma City?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
The Towering Inferno came out while you were working for the department.
Yeah.
Do you have any memories of how that movie changed the image of firefighters?
The firefighting is a very systematic way of doing things. There's certain things you need to do there's that, in order to be successful. A fire will overroot you. Yeah, they'll get you out of it, you know what I mean? By not having those structures set up in your way, the way you operate, you're going to pay for that the hard way. Classic example of that in New York City. They lost 115 firefighters in the fire. Do you know that the command system within that department, New York City Fire Department, in that big building, that the command structure was in the ground floor of that building? Isn't that stupid?
Mm.
Yeah.
Yes.
That, there's 100 and some odd people in the town. That's why they lost, that 200, 300, 400 people in that building, including the whole command structure of the New York City Fire Department. They killed them all. And burned up all that equipment out there. And that many people that out of real close jumped out of the building, 30, 40, 50 stories up, rather than die being burned up, they jumped and committed suicide. Now that's what I call bad management. Bad man, that's all. We had an explosion right here in Oklahoma City. It wasn't that big, but it was bad. Never lost a single person. All those people.
There were no firefighters lost that day?
No.
I didn't realize that.
Yeah, not a single one.
I didn't realize
Yeah.
that. Was there an innovation that changed the way you worked? Anything that was invented that you feel changed how you fought fires in your time?
Well, I have a strong opinion on that.
Okay. We like strong opinions. Surprise.
Strong opinion on management on operations. Number one is built around how trained are the people to begin with. How trained are they? How strong is the system that's in place that got it to work? Do you have the equipment that's necessary? Now all those things together is going to dictate to me how successful you're going to be at any emergency that's going to come up. If you don't have those things done, you're going to lose it. You're going to lose it. You're going to lose it.
Were there specific instances when you feel like you were in real danger?
Oh yeah, a lot of those.
Could you tell us about one of them?
Well, so many.
Okay.
Some where fires got out of control. They waited too long to call in the fire department. And in fact, we had to go in there at a very, very critical area of firefighting. That's very dangerous. Very, very dangerous. To getting caught in areas of a building that's multiple stored. That takes all your odds against you. It just goes, those things, you extract those, put those things together. If you don't have those kinds of programs built into the way you function, you're going to find yourself in that situation.
Okay, so procedure was
It's going
everything.
to get you. It's going to get you.
Do you have any, I mean, I don't know if you would want to talk about it. Were you ever hurt?
Yes, that's normal. That's normal. Necks, back, arms, all those things go with it.
I feel like those are questions, that's the question I probably should ask your wife. Because that's who takes care of that. You played a major role in the development of better hiring procedures within the department, and in other departments across the nation chose to use them. Can you talk about your contribution to how people got hired?
Most departments, of course, you understand, traditionally, people are hired on those departments on inside cliques, kinfolks. Always kinfolks. And that can weaken an organization because some departments are so deeply enrooted with cousins, uncles,
In-laws.
nephews, sons.
What about the assessment center? The assessment center that you developed. The
The,
assessment center.
the assessment.
Yeah. Now, the assessment center is something started in Oklahoma City. It was developed in Oklahoma City. It was taught here by other people. In fact, some of them in that room right in there. They came down here from St. Louis. Whole team. And sit right there and trained it all right there in that living room. And they went back and put it together. The assessment center. I'm a strong believer in that concept. If it's clean, it's up front, it gets down to the business, and it's the cousins, that doesn't mean anything to it. It's can you deliver? Are you willing to deliver? Yeah, that's what it boils down to.
Could you tell me about when the next set of firefighters was brought in Oklahoma City? I was told that they did not bring in a set of African Americans every year, that there'd be long spans of time between there was a long span of time between when your 12 were hired and then the next set.
Yeah, that's common. Okay. There has probably been, in the last 10, 12 years, there probably hadn't been 5 or 10 blacks ever hired in Oklahoma City.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
Things, the machinery will catch up with you. And wait a minute, that's nationwide. The recruitment for blacks in the fire service starts on the West Coast, coming back this way. Fewer and fewer and fewer and fewer minorities are coming into fire service.
Why do you think that is?
There's a strong traditional clique, you want to call it, that spreads all the way across the fire service. Yeah. And causes the system to go back to what it was before. And that's where it is. There's been fewer and fewer blacks employed in fire departments all the way across the country, period, right now. It has been in the past few. In fact, damn few have been hired.
That's fast. Thank you. Did you aspire to become the chief?
No,
Okay.
never did. No desire.
Did you ever consider quitting at some point?
No.
No.
Couldn't. Yeah. Too much to do.
Or too much to depending on you
Yeah,
too? I mean,
True.
others were watching.
that's right. Oh yes, oh yes, oh yes. There's forces out there right now, including this thing that we in right now. More systematic. Do you know that when this organization that brought all us in here, all,
Which organization are you talking about? The executive development?
EDI.
Are you talking about EDI?
EDI,
Okay.
the people that want that to be destroyed, because that's been going on for 20 some odd years. Funding itself, coast to coast.
Nonprofit.
Huh?
Nonprofit
Non-profit organization that produces more than anybody. Yeah.
How did you decide to retire in 1981?
My need to want to get the things in place, fully in place, that I didn't have time to do. And so I did. Training, and I was stuck on training.
Lecturing.
Yeah, and I'm a duck on that. And
He started his own business called the Carl Holmes Executive Institute.
yeah,
Oh, okay.
Association.
yeah,
And not Executive Institute, but the
Carl Holmes Executive
Associ-
Development Institute.
No,
Yeah.
Carl Holmes
That
and
one?
Associates. That was his own
Oh,
business.
that was the next. Oh, okay.
That was his business.
Okay.
Well, you were 55 at the time.
yeah, something like that.
It wasn't an age requirement that you.
No, it was early.
That's what.
Okay.
Yeah, yeah.
I retired at 55
That sounds like a good age to
from the
retire.
FAA.
Well, you were of the 12. Were you the only one that didn't have a college degree?
Yeah.
Of the 12?
No, they all
Was he?
had
Oh,
college.
there's one or two.
But one or two did.
Yeah, one or two. Yeah.
They didn't hold that against you?
No,
No,
they
he
tried
did
it.
have the
They might as well
training.
they did, but
Yeah.
tried it.
Even though he didn't graduate,
Yeah.
he did have the training.
Yeah.
And it looks like everybody had a nickname.
Oh yeah, everybody had a nickname.
And yours was Big Daddy?
Yeah, that was it.
How did you get that?
I don't know. I donated that one to me.
Because he was always the one to try to bring in the guys into different organizations and getting it done, making sure whatever it is that they were supposed to do within the department, it got done. So they called him Big Daddy.
Like a father figure?
Yes,
Yeah.
Big Daddy. Big Daddy's going to get on us if I don't do this. So Big Daddy's going to really make sure that we have this done, I get this done.
And were you two married at the time he joined or later?
Oh, no, we got married in 59.
So you knew he was in the fire business when,
Oh,
you,
yeah.
when you got married?
That was okay.
Yeah.
Nice. What was the celebration like when you retired? Were there multiple celebrations?
Oh, yeah. They
Yeah,
did.
it was big.
They had a big
big.
celebration when he retired this year.
It was big.
Okay. Did you? Was there more than one celebration? I'm thinking the church and every place, the fire department.
They had different
Urban
organizations.
League.
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah,
so
they sure did.
so everybody celebrated.
They
Yeah.
did.
He was
Uh-huh.
glad to see me gone.
No, no, he wasn't.
Nice.
He was joking, of course, and but he had several celebrations. He really did.
And what was the community reaction? How did they feel about you retiring? Were they ready for you to retire?
It was kind of like, were you gonna go? You gonna do something else related?
Well, see, he had already started his own
Yes,
business,
I already started with it.
and he was already lecturing
Working with
around
other
the
fire
United
departments
States,
around
all
the country.
everywhere. And
Working all
So they knew you weren't going to sit in a rock.
No,
As long as you were
no,
still
no.
part of the community,
Working hard then,
they were
they were
okay.
Mhm.
Okay.
he
Yeah.
traveled. He was gone
Yeah.
every week. That's why we stayed married.
Oh. Could you tell us a little about your interactions with major figures of the time, like Clara Looper or
Oh, yeah.
Hannah Atkins?
Oh, yeah.
And
It was all soldiers there.
right.
It was real soldiers.
Could you tell us about work
I
you
would
did
say
with
that
them?
you started some very, very strong women, very strong, and they didn't back up right. They were tough. They were real soldiers, and they backed up.
You got to see that.
Everything they did, they backed up.
Well,
Real soldiers.
Hannah was known as the tea sipping lady.
Yeah, that was her. Hannah was.
She was a librarian too.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think she joined in on a garbage strike or something too.
Yep.
So she did back it up.
Yeah.
Yep.
Oh,
Hannah was a soldier.
They were all
She was a
strong.
soldier.
Well, did you know Henry Bellman?
Oh, yes.
Did you?
Yeah.
Could you tell us about your relationship with Henry Bellman?
It's been a very,
Let's see, I have a picture of
it wasn't
him and
as close,
Okay.
but I knew it.
So he presented.
Yeah.
I mean, he hired Hannah Atkins.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
So,
yeah.
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 In the 60s, well, late 50s and 60s, they were doing sit-ins and that type of thing
Oh, yeah.
down in the city. Do you have any memories of that?
Oh, yeah. Worked at stations where that was going on. Yeah, that was going on. It was. My mother was involved in it. In fact, I was sitting at headquarters, working at fire station number 9, which is right off of the financial district. And the guys at stations, all white, they say, Carl, look at it. What they were looking at the tape to watch my mother getting pulled into scout car and arrested for sitting in the restaurants in Oklahoma City, right down the street.
Wow.
Yeah,
Well, what did you do?
nothing good.
They say mother.
Yeah, God damn, mother. You just stay out of that stuff. You know, that stuff's getting too close to you. Yeah.
That's interesting. How did you feel when you were watching the footage of the firemen in the South with the fire hoses that they
Yeah,
would
oh,
put
yeah.
on the chip? How did you feel as an African American firefighter watching?
Well, what you feel like doing is go up and snatch that thing at his hand and turn it on him.
Yeah.
That's what it feels like. Just like in several things like that. In Birmingham, where they got rough fire departments, redneck fire departments. They turn the hose on the kids. All those places.
Did you ever meet any of the firefighters who did those things?
Oh yeah.
How did you talk to them?
Like a dog. It's like, you know, try to trap me now, you know. Yeah. Yeah. I'm your size. Yeah.
Yeah, and I've got a fire hose too.
Yeah. You didn't have a fire hose either.
Right. That's interesting. How did the Carl Holmes Executive Development Institute come into being?
Well, it was a common reactions to some of the things that was already out there. It was very difficult after working with that committee to develop the thing, baby. Take it? To get those things done. But to see it come out like that, if it had got dog, you know, it didn't have to be like that. Those kids, like the bombing of the girls at the school, at the church. You know, what does that hit you, you know? What does it hit you? You don't see it as a black kid. You see it as a kid. You know, how can anybody dislike that much to a kid? The segregation gets really, where it really gets to you, is when segregation impacts the youngest dude in the world. The one that's got the least amount of pressure, least about everything. How does anybody turn on a kid like that? I don't care what color he is. I don't understand that. I don't understand people even think like that. I really don't, because I wouldn't thought that way. My mother and father. It wasn't even taught to me. The kids that I went to second, third, fourth, and fifth grade, they didn't think that way. Now you know what happened to those people, you know. They didn't think like that. They didn't think like that. Why do so-called adults can convert themselves over to that? Well, I don't understand people like that.
Who's the question?
It's interesting. The Carl Holmes Executive Development Institute was started in 1991 in Florida, and then it moved to New Orleans, and then after Hurricane Katrina, it has moved back to New Orleans. How did you select those locations?
Well, when we started thinking about developing a training institute that operated once a year from all over the country,
You were in a meeting with the International Association of Black Professional Firefighters.
Yeah.
Remember, you guys got together with that
and
in order to create a training for black firefighters because of the fact that they did not get the training that they needed within the departments that they were.
So is that why you chose those locations?
because at that time we were working some seminars in that area, and the school there was very monumental helping us keeping it going. But as we began to draw people into it, we began to think, we're drawing, remember now, all the way from Florida, kids all the way to the West Coast. You know, we're not reaching people. We need to put this place, this training thing, even though we got an ideal location at Florida A&M, we need to move that someplace centrally located where the travel and expenses to travel can centralize it better. Someplace middle base in the country, someplace in Florida area like that.
New Orleans.
Huh?
New
And
Orleans.
New Orleans is
New
a good central.
Yeah, good central location. Airlines work that way, buses work that way, everybody functions.
Take a train. Yeah. Okay.
And so we sent out some questionnaires to universities in that area, locations, to find out what kind of location, what services did they have. And, lodging, classrooms, that, blah, 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 blah. We got all the instructors we need. All these things, the physical things, accommodations and all, food, and we sent that thing out by 12, 15, 20 questionnaires to all the schools in that area. And we got some hell of a good comments back on it. And so the decision was made, we picked up one in the New Orleans area. That's damn near central location.
Could you tell me about other cities where you feel like you've had a lot of impact on the firefighters?
Oh, golly. Worked in a lot of places. You have to understand that.
California,
Yeah, a lot of places.
Georgia.
A lot of places.
Yeah, I saw your wife had on an East Point Fire Department
Oh, yeah.
shirt.
We got everything around here. Except,
Yeah.
Well, with OSU having a fire protection department, did you have any interaction with OSU?
Oh, yeah.
what now?
OSU.
OSU's Fire
Oh,
Protection
yeah,
Department.
yeah.
Did a lot of
That-
lecturing down
yeah.
there, a lot of instructing down
Yeah,
there,
it's
and
on the corner. Yeah.
You go up and teach some?
yes,
Oh, yeah,
he did.
whatever they want to
all
do.
the time. He
But,
was there all the time. Every time they needed him,
And
he was there.
You have a lot of people that you've mentored. How do they find you, or do you find them?
in what way?
Just to how do you form those relationships at your development program, or just in lecturing?
Yeah, lecturing. You understand how many seminars and stuff like that do an average year, over the years. Man, there's a lot of places, all the way up into Canada, Yeah, and
I think in 81.
all the way to the West Coast,
well, she gave
all
me
the
a
way
doctorate
up
degree.
there, all the way down the coast, all the way.
Oh, that's good.
A lot of people, a lot of different places that is
He was
invited
there all the time.
me to come in and teach seminars.
I talked to two people the day one day last week who both said that you had influenced them. So that's really exciting.
And OSU gave you an honorary doctorate?
That's what they said.
Oh,
That's been discussed right now.
okay.
Yeah. Brunacini got one this past year, and I went down to that, and a couple of them said, "Yeah, and you coming up next."
Oh, that was back in 81, Paul.
Yeah. Well, Brunacini's,
No, for you it was back in
Oh,
81.
yeah.
It was 81, 82.
yeah.
Right after you retired, they
Yeah. And
after
he
they-
did a lot of instructing down there, a lot of teaching down there, he was there all the time. Every time they needed him, he was there at OSU. I mean, all the time. Who was the guy that you were teaching with? What was his name?
Where?
At OSU, honey.
Oh, Mace, Harold Mace.
Was it Harold Mace
I can't remember.
at OSU?
Harold Mace ran the whole program.
Is he still there?
Yeah, he's there.
I'm not sure.
Yeah, he's there.
Well, that's been, Carl,
He's there.
I don't know how many years ago,
Yeah,
okay?
there's too many.
Yeah, so that's why I don't know. I
Yeah,
don't think
too
he's
many.
still there. No, if they don't know his name, then he's
We'll,
not
we'll
still there.
check.
Yeah.
In 1990, the Oklahoma legislature put forth a resolution honoring the group of 12 men who came in together. And Freddie Williams referred to you all as pioneers. Is there anything special that you remember from that day that you were honored?
Well, you have to understand that only 3 of us are still alive. Only 3. And 2 of those in rest homes. And me, my wife says, I'm already ready for rest home. And
Did you go to the Capitol
when?
When they
did,
honored you.
when they did the resolution?
Yeah.
When Freddie Williams did the
Yeah.
resolution?
Yeah.
Um,
And of course, you know,
I thought
they
they
have
shut
a
down.
museum down there.
are the 12 firefighters represented at the Oklahoma State Firefighters Museum? The
Yes.
12 of you
Yeah, yeah, oh, yeah.
are represented there.
Yeah,
Okay, I need
It's
to.
a monument down at school, at the new station they built. You
Oh.
see, there was a years back, years back. I was telling about that company, all black company.
I can show that to him on the film.
Oh,
Yeah, and it's got a strong background in that. And that group, all black company, was just such a fabulous group. They're outstanding.
You're talking about black firefighters,
Yeah.
right? At that station.
And the insurance companies said they want to put up a trophy for all the top-notch company in Oklahoma City.
Fire stations.
Yeah, fire station. And we talked about it at work. They said, let's try for that. And so we did. And it went through a whole process of days and months data on all those fire companies. And come down to the end. Station 10, an all black company, wound up being number 1.
Station
wow.
6, not
Yeah,
station number 6.
number 6, station number 6. And boy, the roof fell in Oklahoma City. Yeah, the most efficient, the most effective fire company in Oklahoma City, all black one, that's unheard of.
I'd say that didn't set too well.
No. And so they did. And they said they were going to award a trophy to that company, and that would be in this fire station that they work out of. Now this thing, 6 foot tall, the ground up. You know, a huge thing, but big around, standing the ground up. Yeah. And they did. And they graded it, everything, made the award, but they sent the station, the trophy, to headquarters.
They won it 3 times.
So you didn't want they didn't want you
They
didn't get to
wanted
keep
three
it at your
times.
station.
Yeah.
They had to keep it at headquarters.
Anyway, yeah.
Okay.
And had all the names
Disappeared.
engraved in it all the way around it. And and it said that it kind of worked the wrong corners. Over the years, his stages disappeared. Now, way on down the line, is I made some moves away up in the fire service. Got all the way up to assistant chief, fire chief. And we were getting ready to build a new fire station. And the management crew came down to my office. Said, say, Carl, you said that new station, we're not going to put any new stuff in there. I said, no, we're not going to put anything in that station that's not brand new. We got the money to do it. So he said, yeah, but another thing else we found, he said, look for it, anything we needed. It was in the top floor of the training center. So they went up there. He said, what we found up there was this huge thing, trophy. Been up there for 10, 12 years. And I said, well, you know, big deal. We're going to get rid of all that stuff. Anything we need to get out, we're not going to take anything in that new station. Said, but this thing's got a whole lot of stuff up there. And they started describing it to me. And they said, wait a minute. I said, describe that to me again. And it was that trophy. It'd been up there all those years.
Somebody had hidden it
Yeah.
up there.
Upstairs. Way top. And I said, they said, well, what are we going to do with that? I said, all the other stuff that's up there goes to the junkyard, including that trophy. I said, I want it all thrown away. He said, well, I don't know. I was assistant chief that day, fire chief. They asked Byron Oliver, who was the chief, he said, this thing that Carl wants me to throw all this stuff. Yeah, he Carl said, throw that stuff away. We were buying all this stuff. He said, well, this big old trophy up there. He said, big old trophy. He said, yeah. He said, what does it look like? It looked like somebody drilled a lot of holes all the way around it and everything. He said, no, don't throw that away. He said, I wondered where that thing went. He said, top floor at training center.
Of the two men who are still, of the 12 of you who started there, 3 who are still living, do you stay in touch with the other 2? Do you contact?
Well, there's only 2, only myself and James Carver is the rest home down the street. Herbert Ford is at rest home in California. And me, that's it.
Do you stay in touch with either of them? Do you talk to them?
I talk to them, yeah.
What happened to the trophy? Once they found it, what happened to it?
Oh, well, I made that statement at a speech I was making, business group. And I talked about the
What
fact.
happened to the trophy?
What
Well,
happened to it?
What
The
happened?
trophy went
Yeah,
over
where is the trophy now?
Oh, it went from there. They said they were going to redo that, the whole thing. Give me the names that was on there, Carl.
Oh.
I said, I ain't got it. I got it in my head. I knew every one of them. They said they had all of the names put back on there.
Oh, they had taken the names off of the
They
trophy?
drilled holes, the names, all around names. Like that stuff goes deep.
Yeah, it does.
It goes deep.
Yeah.
So they repaired it?
Huh?
They repaired it or made a new one?
They repaired it, the whole redid thing. Put it back together, all the names, everything around it, dates, names, and all that. And it's the new station, fire station, number 10, right down to where the baseball, the volleyball games played. There's a fire station down there.
It'll probably end up at the firefighters museum eventually.
Well, you wonder why they kept it if they damaged it so much.
Well,
why keep
get rid of it.
Yeah.
Get rid of it. Yeah, all those years.
All those fires, they could have just.
Well, did you all, when it first disappeared, did you all wonder
What happened? It
What
just
happened?
disappeared.
it wasn't ever displayed when you
No,
first received
no.
it?
6 foot tall. It's down there now in the museum. It shows you
It's
how
at the
deep,
fire station, Carl.
deep, huh?
It's at the fire station down on,
Yeah.
on Lincoln Boulevard.
It shows you
That's where
how
it is now.
deeply hatred can go. You understand how deeply it can go.
But you 12 had to hold yourself to a different standard
You had
than
to-
everybody else in
Yeah.
it's supposed to be equal ranks, I guess.
That's right.
No, go ahead. Okay. when history is written about you, and history is already being written about you, what would you like for it to say, and how do you want to be remembered?
Really, I'm really not interested in being remembered. I'm really not. Everything that I've ever done needed to be done. And I was either in a position to get it done, I had the guts to make it raise enough hell to get it done, or something. But I don't need that.
Well,
Did you really have to raise hell?
Yeah.
You did?
Yeah.
well, we'd like to give you a huge thank you for sharing your story with us and giving us your time, and for making things better for the ones who followed you. Not just in the fire department, but everywhere.
Well, isn't that what we're supposed to do?
That's what they say.
You take a look at that historical tapes in there. If you like time, you got time. That tape on the history of
It's playing right now.
Why don't you take a look at that?
Okay.
It kind of summarizes all together.
Well, it was a pleasure meeting you.
Oh,
It was wonderful. to
Your
meet you.
your influence has reached further than this room. So
Yeah,
amazing Oklahoman
yeah, born and raised. Yeah. Yes, sir.
with OSU ties. So that's all.
That's
we'll say.
Yeah,